Welcome to Two Guys, Three Crowns, the podcast that talks about what it's really like to live in Stockholm, Sweden. I'm Sean, and with my fellow American Rodney, we break down the good, the bad, and the just plain weird. It's quite the journey, so join us for the ride.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. It's almost time for you again.
No one asked you, man.
Was that better, Sean?
It's better than White Christmas, that's for sure. Better than White Christmas. Okay. I'm not liking it anyway, but...
Hey, they're putting up like Halloween costumes at the store today when I was down there shopping.
I just can't even. I just can't. But as a little bright spot to satisfy your West Coast / Best Coast kind of mentality, we have a guest in the podcast today.
What? We got a guest?
We have a guest. We had Edward Bassey in the house.
Hey,
Edward!
Hey!
Wow.
What's going on, man?
Edward.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So, Edward, you like us, you're a expat, displaced, lost in Sweden as well. You got a cool couple interesting projects that we'll get into. But yeah, why don't we, we love when we talk to expats to get kind of an idea of how they ended up in Sweden, what's their backstory. You got the whole West Coast thing with Rodney going on. So what's the Edward story? First off, how'd you end up here in Stockholm of all places?
Oh man, that's long. All right, so yeah, I'm originally from the West Coast. I actually was raised in Seattle, Washington. What's kind of a weird twist about my family, I guess, is that my parents were diplomats. So I was actually born in Palau and raised in Micronesia, raised in the Pacific, until I was almost a teenager. So my kind of American identity is formed a lot by like the stuff that I watched when I was growing up, but also very, very like teen-centric. So even to this day, people around me are like, man, Edward's Americanness is like pop punk, like high school kind of stuff. That's like the genesis of a lot of this stuff. So yeah.
Well, so you got Pacific Islander kind of ish.
Yes, exactly. My mom is originally from the Philippines, and my dad, and this is where it's gonna get a little fun. My dad's family actually hails from Norway, so my really American family is very Nordic looking, I guess, and very Nordic in our own family culture. Yeah, right.
Wow. So like you and I aren't only like West Coast brothers, we're like West Coast plus. Because I'm like Hawaiian Samoan.
Oh, there you go. Okay. There you go. A couple of Islander boys. That's good.
Exactly.
Earlier today, man, I actually busted out my musubi maker. I hooked up some turkey spam. I was in the U.S. a couple weeks ago.
Oh, killing me. I got a spam brother, Sean.
Oh, what have I done?
Nice.
Yeah, now me and Edward can bulk shop.
Create a Costco just of spam.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
So then, yeah, like multinational background here. Half the family's Norwegian, but then how do you end up in Sweden?
Okay, like many of your listeners, I guess, I have a love immigrant story.
Aha.
And so I came here about 6 years ago to be with my partner.
Cool.
Again, prior to that, I had lived in East Asia for about eight and a half years. Now, in that time, obviously, I've become like a Swedish-style family man. I have a beautiful little daughter, while also growing my own business here at the same time.
Nice. And if I understand correctly, you got a bright, shiny new startup.
Yeah, exactly. So it's about a year old. It's called the Early Birds, earlybirds.se. Basically, it's an e-commerce consultancy agency.
Cool.
Simply put, man, we help brands sell online. In practice, this has been really fun to be handling exclusively Swedish clientele. So we offer many different kinds of interesting services. We've done everything from like strategic consulting, like Brainpower, where we help these Swedish brands kind of make the right kinds of data-informed decisions on how to succeed digitally. But we also offer a lot of operational work. So the co-founders and I have taken some of our secret sauce that we've kind of been building from experience with other Swedish companies, and created this really efficient kind of tight configuration between the administrative work and strategic thinking that's necessary to succeed, right? We've then applied this aggressively to our own internal capabilities so that we can effectively deliver these services. So an example of this, in fact, I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot, is Amazon.com. So
Wait,
have
who?
I know, right? The elephant in the room. So 2-day delivery, baby. So basically, we have over 24 Swedish clients that we work with on Amazon as a marketplace platform. So we help a lot of these companies develop and implement strategies that are relevant specifically to Amazon.com as a sales channel. But we also provide the kinds of hands-on administrative work that makes those strategies successful.
So does that mean that despite all the rumors, Amazon is actually coming to Sweden?
Amazon is actually coming to Sweden, 100% confirmed. They have an FBA fulfillment center that's also going to host their kind of vendor deliveries in Eskilstuna. But otherwise, while they continue to build out that fulfillment network, they are relying on fulfillment centers in continental Europe, like Germany.
So you said 2-day delivery, so they're not sending it via PostNord?
PostNord is the butt of many jokes, and they take it well. But look, the reality is that in order to actually deliver something effectively within 2 days, as much as people love to say that, oh, but Sweden is such a big country with few people, it's like, yeah, but it's also the reality is that the vast majority of you live in just 3 major metropolitan areas, all of which could be serviced with a very efficient last mile delivery system. So while PostNord is like, yeah, they're a player and they're involved in this, I'm definitely thinking, what's really going to make 2-day delivery possible is if and when Amazon starts effectively recruiting a lot of these last mile delivery services, right? No one complains about Budbee, but we all complain about PostNord, right?
Okay.
But it's the Budbees that are going to make Amazon's success possible or not.
Yeah, right. So it's not like, oh yeah, we're going to deliver in 2 days, but that's going to be a note to go walk down to your like local bodega and then go pick up the package yourself.
But I think that, yeah, exactly. And so for me, it's like, well, to continue with the Amazon mission of like delighting customers, I do see that the healthy last mile delivery system we have here with so many different kinds of delivery systems, I think that that's going to become the kind of the engine of that 2-day delivery growth. Again, that's like a prediction. I think that PostNord is definitely going to be a major part of this too, but 2-day delivery is going to be a thing.
Hey, but you said that they're going to be in Eskilstuna?
That's their major fulfillment center right now.
I think I could drive up there in like 2 hours and pick my spam up. I could have same-day delivery.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
1-day Prime.
Nice.
Just the word prime in Sweden just has kind of a weird ring to it, but yeah. Let's do it.
Nice. Yeah.
So how, the almost quintessential Swedish story as an expat, right? Living abroad internationally, being a love immigrant, and then finding yourself right in the middle of a tech startup. How did you get in contact with these people? Have you known them through like social contacts, or like how did this kind of thing just happen? Did it just kind of fall in your lap?
Ooh, great. Well, there's a couple of different things here. So I had well, number one, I'm a Seattle boy, so I had previously worked for Amazon.com, right? That's a major employer in the city of Seattle, and I was there at a really interesting time in the company's development, internalized a lot of their kind of strategic thinking. and kind of took that with me when I kind of traveled the world. E-commerce is a major part of my work background.
Nice.
So in Sweden, though, which has a very unique, intense, and growing kind of e-commerce sector, I've kind of fell into the Amazon thing because I had been working for a variety of like Swedish startups. Now, how I actually found these would be I would often go to like tech meetups. I put myself out there. I'm sure that many of your listeners also have stories about challenges that they faced when they've come to Sweden, personally and professionally. And
For sure.
to keep it real, I am not an exception to that. So, I think maybe the one difference between a lot of people who still struggle is that I am a hustler, straight up, right? I am a really social guy, so I made it absolutely incumbent on myself to make sure that I had plenty of people to talk to when I arrived here, and I wanted to make sure that at the end of the day I was being heard. This is not an easy task, and it took a lot of trial and error to really get to where I am now. So over the course of multiple kind of Swedish consumer electronics and other kinds of consumer product startups, I started work for a company called Ideal of Sweden several years ago.
Oh yeah.
They're pretty well known for making very, very beautiful mobile phone cases and other kind of accessories. And I managed their Amazon sales, and I helped take it off, right? I was part of their e-commerce team, and I made sure that Amazon continued to grow not only incrementally but exponentially over time, so that it did become a major revenue generating and also profitability generating component of Ideal of Sweden's business. Can't say more than that due to an existing NDA, but I can say that towards the end of my time there, I realized, well, it was really fun to get this going, but how fun would it be, or could it be, if I could talk to as many Swedish companies like Ideal of Sweden and get things going? Like, how many of these flywheels can I keep spinning up? So I said, hey guys, this has been amazing. I love this, but I think I want to kind of do my own thing, and I think it'd be kind of cool to do this consulting thing. Now, one of the people who was kind of affiliated with my team announced, she was like, yeah, I'm actually leaving as well, and I've taken this job with this other company, but if you can convince me that there is something here, I'm just gonna partner with you and say, forget these other guys.
Nice.
So I did. I showed her the numbers. I said, I think this is what we can do. I had met a drinking buddy, really. I had met another guy who came out of Facebook Sweden, was an executive there.
Okay, cool.
And he had been saying, hey, I kind of want to get into the Amazon game too. There seems to be some really interesting stuff there. So I had these two guys with me, and we started the Early Birds a little over a year ago.
Nice. Cool.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
Hey, so did you throw in like unlimited fika? You told her you're like, oh, you can fika as much and as often as you want?
Definitely, but to be honest with you, I think that wasn't really the perk here. I think what I really dangled in front of them was the idea that, hey, with the right combination of the right kinds of financial metrics, not only are we going to see spectacular results on our clients, which of course helps our egos, but we might be in a position to also make a lot more money, which would help our wallets, right? So it was a combination of something that is like, obviously rational and self-interested, like profits for us,
Sure.
but also on a larger sense, it was, Amazon is a major player, and people can, Swedish companies can continue to like stick their heads in the sand and not think about it, or they can confront it and come up with a really good strategy for how to leverage that channel and actually make some money.
But do you find that there is like almost, I mean, from a business standpoint, not from like people, but like a cultural kind of standoffishness or like a backlash to Amazon coming in?
Definitely. I think, on a bigger picture, I think that too many Swedish brands, for probably pretty rational reasons, think about Amazon and immediately get defensive, right? How do we stop this? How do we mitigate the worst effects of this thing?
Okay.
I encounter that, and my response is to be very firm and say, I think that being aggressive and taking the offense is always going to be a better strategy when it comes to e-commerce. And I think in particular that these are strategic qualities that lend themselves very well to the platform. One of the things that I think is really interesting is that I like to bring up that parallel to all of these, it's important to think at the end of the day about the end consumer, right? The Swedish customer.
Yeah.
Amazon customers the world over are straight up like delighted by this, right? Amazon's level of customer service and selection is insane. I love it. I'm a Prime fan. And I think all Swedish brands should really kind of align themselves and put themselves in a position where they ask how they can do more to service and delight customers, right? How can we make sure that our customers and potential customers here in Sweden are getting the best possible service and selection from us as a brand? So I think that these are all factors that need to take into play. I think that just looking at the numbers is one thing, but actually looking at the marketplace as a whole and the kind of the qualitative dynamics that shape it is another thing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm still just thinking of, it's easy to see, like when, like us, from being on the outside here, stuck here in Sweden, where we've been deprived almost of Amazon Prime and let alone Amazon Fresh, where it's like it could never exist here, but oh, we just ran out of wine, just order like 3 more bottles and it'll get here in an hour, right? Like it's just
I
like
agree with you.
a completely other world, right? Like it.
Or I'm thinking, what I put in my head is, what if you are like a single mom, you know, living in Kumla, and you have to keep track of your job, you have to keep track of your social life, and you have to remember to buy all of this baby stuff, all of the diapers, like once a week. With something like Amazon Pantry, for instance, or Amazon Prime, like the amount of relief faced by this, for instance, this figurative single mom in Kumla is going to be immense, right? She is going to be the center of delight for a huge e-commerce platform that's going to provide her with anything she could possibly want, both for her personal life and also for the development of her family life. And I think that people kind of underestimate that a great deal. One, because they're concerned about Amazon as a corporation, and two, because they're not as concerned about the Swedish customer and how you can delight them.
For sure, for sure.
If you add like Amazon husband to that mix, then you know that lady is she's set for life. You know?
I'm sure you can change the Alexa voice to a man.
Hey, I have my Alexa set up as like an Aussie. It's amazing.
That's amazing.
I just like the accent better. But so, riddle me this. So you're a startup, you're working, probably, I imagine you guys are open to everyone, but who's kind of like your bread and butter that's like the best for the early bird secret sauce?
Ooh, great question. All right, so in the larger sense, obviously, Swedish brands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Swedish consumer goods brands tend to be our bread and butter. I would say that we have a particular affinity for and particular skill set that's relevant for what I would consider to be like a medium-sized consumer goods startup.
Okay.
So we work with companies like Arki, which make a carbonation machine. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned before, we had worked with Ideal of Sweden. Mm-hmm. This group, this category of like disruptive, fairly direct-to-consumer consumer goods, these guys are kind of the best ones that we can work with. And I think our services speak really well to the kinds of growth trajectories and growth goals that they tend to have.
Okay, so let's say there was like a fresh, new, hot Swedish startup that was selling like $5 margarita pitchers.
Sure.
You might be able to work with them, right?
Definitely. We might be able to work with them for a variety of different things.
We're going to make it happen and bring in beers from Germany on drones. I'm telling you. It's going to happen, people.
It's going to be great.
That Surströmming aftershave is going to have to wait a little bit. I'm still developing the whole marketing side of that. But
get the influencers on board.
That's right. That's right. Now, how long did you say you've been in Sweden at this point?
6 years.
So you're like almost an adopted local at this point. So
yeah, you know, there are days where I kind of don't want to hear that. But for the most part, I'm kind of unusual, Sean. You know this. I'm kind of an unusual person among the specifically like North American expat scene, in which I love living here. Right? I'm like unusually ebullient and excited about living here. So with the exception of 6 years is a long time to live anywhere, right? If you have my background.
Yeah, true.
But Sweden is great.
So we always love to kind of ask the expats and the guests that come on the show, they tend to, maybe not Rodney over here we won't even begin to go into how many years he's been here, but for someone like myself, I'm going on my 3rd year Swediversary coming up in October. So it's always good to,
Nice.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it's been that long already. To kind of get a sense of what are your favorite spots, like what's your go-to, what are some hidden gems, you don't want to give away like your secret wing place, right? But what's something that you can share with people,
Ooh, okay. There are a few that I am not going to share because they're a little bit too dear, a little bit too hidden.
You
know
can't be
how
having
that
a line
is.
show up next time
Yeah,
you go in there.
exactly. Okay, so look, there are two that I'm definitely going to recommend that I really like. The first one is if you are an expat who kind of needs a little bit of, kind of hip, not too fancy cosmopolitanism, or if you are a Swede that wants that too, I would definitely check out Cafe Nomad here in Stockholm. So that's an Upplandsgatan. It is affiliated with a like a hostel that's next door.
Okay.
It's a really small joint, but they have a really great deck outside. It's a fantastic place. They used to have like lots of live music. It's still open. It's got great kind of husmanskost food.
Whoa.
But but historically it's been the crowd, right? It's been like, oh, I get to meet a whole bunch of people from around the world. It's kind of a relaxed atmosphere. It isn't like a bumpin' hotel rooftop bar. you know?
Right. Now, just to rewind.
I like those too.
Just to rewind a second. Husman's what food?
Husmanskost.
Okay. Lost in translation.
3 years, bro. 3 years.
So
Okay. But I'll give you the second one, all right? I'll give you a second one for your viewers. I really like it. Now, I'm a Seattle boy, and one of the things that Seattle has a lot of, unusually, is
Starbucks.
Ethiopian restaurants, right?
Ethiopian, really?
Yeah. So for me, college was like, do I want pho or do I want Ethiopian, right? It was kind of like that. There is a really great Ethiopian restaurant called Gojo over in Hornstuhl, right? It serves really great Ethiopian and Eritrean food. Not gonna lie, I have often gone there and been straight up the only visibly non-African person in the joint, which is amazing. They also have, in fact, they might be the only place that has original like East African Georgetown beer that's served ice cold. Highly recommended. Book a table in advance.
Wow.
You guys will love it.
Okay. I like it.
Be like, hey, Edward, the Filipino guy sent me.
Okay, be careful who you might say that to.
Nice. And I want to get another take from you here, especially now that we have officially Amazon coming into town. That's like one of the
Yes.
big check marks for expats of like, man, why can't we just have this one thing? Now,
Yep.
spam notwithstanding, what's like the next? Yeah, there, Rodney
Nice.
holding up the spam on the camera.
Nice.
What's the one thing? Like, what's the next thing in line for Edward that like we just got to get in here?
Ooh, man. Ooh, you caught me off guard on that one. That's a good one.
Could be anything, any category. Here we go.
Anything in any category that we have here that I don't get and that I have to go to the U.S. for?
Or hey, it could be Philippines even. Throw it out there.
Well, oof, that's a really
Ooh,
good thing.
Calamansi juice.
Well, okay, let me start with like a conservative response would be that let's hope that everything opens up first, right? Let's hope that we can at least get to a baseline
Yeah, for real.
where things are kind of less manic and less unstable.
For real.
Let me think. Okay, in terms of what I would, man, Amazon kind of answers a lot of things though. Okay, to give it to you real though, I have this new obsession. So I recently was in the U.S. and I discovered this streaming platform called Quibi, Qibi.
Oh yeah,
And-
they've been
oh,
invading
man,
my feeds.
Oof, I love this thing. I've been running around telling people like, hey, maybe Amazon should buy this. maybe Netflix should buy this. I mean, this thing, I think that, you know, this could very well be truly the future of how people watch anything.
Really? But isn't it like
yeah.
it's supposed to be 5-minute like TV episodes or something like that, right?
Okay, so Quibi, you know, was started by Meg Whitman and Jeffrey Katzenberg, former CEO of Disney.
Okay.
And what they kind of saw was they said, well, look, the reality is that most people really want to watch stuff on their phones, right? They're very mobile centric.
That's right. Yeah.
And therefore, all content from here on in has to take into account that kind of physical platform.
Yep.
Second, and what I think is absolutely the brilliant turn is they said, look, what people really want is while they want to binge, they want more frequent content drops than they want voluminous content drops. So one of Quibi's things is every episode has a hard limit of 8 to 10 minutes. But they post episodes much more frequently. And so if you're like, hey, I'll wait until the whole thing's done, you're only going to wait like a week, right? As opposed to a traditional season of like 8 to 9 months.
And a season is like 1 hour.
Exactly. And in fact, Quibi has also taken the brilliant turn of disregarding that kind of calendrical seasonal thinking.
Yeah.
And saying that from here on in, there are no seasons because as long as people keep getting stuff, as long as it's available, we should keep providing it for them. It's a really beautiful kind of tech way of thinking, very Amazonian in some ways, in which the customer's always right, and it's about configuring the industrial practices to reflect that.
Right.
I do think that Quibi is a major thing. I think if you look at other kinds of platforms, like TikTok is a great example, Kumu. If you looked at the Norwegian television program Skam, where you saw that, like less long form content, but more frequent content drops. So I've been definitely obsessed with Quibi. They had a couple shows, The Most Dangerous Game and The Fugitive. And I've been kind of running around telling people that, hey, I think The Fugitive is one of the most beautiful things I've seen this year, and I think it was the role that was necessary for Kiefer Sutherland to take all of that amazing Jack Bauerness and give us the greatest possible performance of it. And I think he should be nominated for an Oscar for it. It was an amazing, amazing performance. I mean, definitely check it out. So if Quibi could like come to Sweden and have more interesting kind of localized Swedish content, I'd love it.
Good tip. Yeah, I mean, just to nerd out on the production kind of stuff a little bit. I was gonna say when you were first talking about it, like, yeah, I mean, you're just doing the production of like 1 or 2 hours worth of a TV show and then chopping it up into little pieces, but you have to kind of reinvent it to have like an endless production in some sense. Just
Exactly.
keep going as long as the money's coming in and you're able to pay all the staff to do it, right?
But that seems like a season or a show could end like really abruptly.
Well,
It'd be like people stop looking. It's like, okay, it's gone.
that's a really great point. But Quibi has like over 150 shows.
Okay.
So there's there's a lot of different elements here. I will say that Quibi tends to skew very young, right? So it's definitely like lots of reality TV. They kind of want the teenagers who are like obsessed on their phones anyway. But you know, as a 34-year-old, I found it to really speak to how I actually want to consume like digital media.
Right.
Some of us, for instance, I find it difficult. I don't know about you guys, but I find it difficult to convince my family that I'm going to sit here and watch this episode of a 50-minute long TV show, and I want you guys to not interrupt me every 5 minutes. Okay? That's a real impossibility, right? That's a real impossibility. But
Yeah.
but if I could say, hey, but these episodes are only 10 minutes long, I'm going to do it after this episode, they can rest assured that, like, yeah, it's going to be like 3 minutes from now.
Right.
He's going to attend to this.
Nice.
You could be like, Daddy's just going to watch one 5-minute episode, but I'm going to watch 10 of them in a row, so I'll talk to you in 50 minutes. Yeah.
It's hilarious. worries.
Hey, I had a quick question for you. What about
Yes.
like a Filipino restaurant? Are there Filipino? Is there a place to get like chicken adobo or someplace in Stockholm?
Oh, great question. There isn't actually. There are a few great Filipino grocery stores
Okay.
here in Stockholm, mostly off Olof Palmes Gata. However, if you are lucky, there is a restaurant downtown called Asian Post Office that occasionally serves a pretty mean adobo.
Okay.
Yeah, so keep your eye out for that.
Asian post office, and it serves food. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Great terrace in the back if you want to have cocktails.
Now, let's say that you had somebody that was visiting and you were going to show them something in Stockholm. What would be like a top tourist spot that you would take a visiting guest to?
Okay. This is one of those questions that's often floating around these expats in Stockholm like Facebook groups.
Right.
So I've seen them all, and unfortunately, my answer is also pretty boring. I think the Vasa Museum is probably one of the most interesting things, if not the most interesting thing to show people.
Classic.
But I will say this. 100% guarantee, if you are bringing your foreign friends to Sweden, you must take them to Sketetunan Bar in Gamlestan. It's a small little like Viking style, medieval style bar. It's got a killer mead on tap.
What?
And I'm telling you guys, I brought dozens of people. I brought my father's sister there, and she got pleasantly drunk. Okay?
I like it. I like it.
So I recommend people. Sketetunan is a really great thing for a couple reasons. One, it's got meat on tap. Awesome. Two, it's got that Viking thing that kind of, you gotta give your out of town friends some of that, right?
Right.
So it's got some of that kind of awesome cornballness. But third, and more importantly, it's a really warm, amazing place to sit down, and it's got great service. Yeah,
Nice.
highly recommended. Sketetunan and Gamlestan.
Dang, we are getting all kinds of hot tips from Edward, man. This is awesome.
6 years, bro.
Dang, I've been here for 15 and I can barely find Apoteket down here. But
You don't have to worry anymore. Amazon's coming.
Yeah. Right.
there you
Send
go.
it to me.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Edward, for stopping in. If people want to go
Thanks, guys.
check out the Early Birds and ask questions, get in touch with you guys, where do they go? What do they do?
If you are interested in, honestly, if you need help with Amazon or e-commerce, or if you really just want to talk about those things and get an idea of what's going to happen and what's going on, log on to theearlybirds.se, theearlybirds.se, and write us a note.
Awesome. Love it.
That's
man.
awesome.
Great. Cool.
Great. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself, Edward. We will be in touch and hopefully see you in person soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right, you know what that sound means. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I want to thank Edward one more time for stopping by the pod today. You can check out his startup, theearlybirds.se, for all of your e-commerce online marketing needs. And you heard it here, people. Amazon and Amazon Prime are coming to Stockholm. All is well in the universe. And don't forget to go into the app or website, wherever you listen to the podcast. Give us some amazing reviews. We want to see the love out there. Also, keep sending on through all of your feedback. We love reading it. We love the comments and suggestions, ideas. And catch us back here next time for more Two Guys, Three Crowns.